Hey losers, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today with just a little bit something different. I'm just going to be going through some things about the first quarter of my reading this year. So I'm going to be looking through like kind of what I've read, what I've loved the most, just some introspection on what I've liked and maybe what's been a little bit different this year than my past reading years. And it's probably not going to be too long, maybe. I don't know. I shouldn't say probably, but we'll see when I'm done how long it is. So some of it's going to be stats. Some of it's going to be talking about my favorite books that I've read so far this year, in the first quarter of the year, and stuff like that. So I made myself like a little spread here. I'll show you. See, this is what I came up with to track a couple things. And like I made this up months ago, right? And now looking at it, I'm like, oh wow, especially with my genre tracker, it's really interesting to look at it and be like what I thought I was going to be reading and what I have read. That's kind of interesting, right? The genres. So genres, let's go through them. I read 25 horror books, 10 thrillers, 7 fantasy books, 2 sci-fi books, 1 historical fiction, 1 nonfiction, which was a true crime book. I read like a smut book, and then I think what surprised me here, which I didn't have a category for in my tracker that I made because I only decided to track like 6 genres, which was horror, fantasy, thriller, nonfiction, and historical fiction. I read 5 like literary fiction books. So that's kind of interesting. I really don't read a lot of like general, like not genre specific books, or I didn't. And that's something, I guess, to think about, is how my reading has changed. I have been trying to open up, and I have been finding that I do like books that are literary fiction. I'm finding a lot of weird books that are more like literary fiction. And I'm finding that literary fiction holds some really weird shit that genre fiction doesn't always. You know what I mean? So that's something that I've discovered. Oh my god, my phone is being so beepy and annoying. So let's just silence you for now. What else? So in total, in the first quarter of the year, I read 51 books. That is 18,068 pages. My average rating, if I was looking at stars, which I don't really do, I more go on vibes, which I have for a couple years because, oh, star ratings, it's just obsolete, I feel like. It's just so nitpicky and weird, and it doesn't really fully capture how I feel about a book. Unless it's like 5 stars or 1 star, you know, all that in between, it really doesn't mean anything. So if I was doing star ratings, my average rating would be about 3.3, which makes sense, especially because I'm reading what I own. I'm reading what I own, and I'm finding that a lot of the books that I own, I've owned for a really long time. I've changed as a reader. I've gotten a lot of these, well, not a lot of these, but I've gotten some of these through subscriptions, so they're not books that I chose for myself. I've gotten some of these really not knowing what they are. I've just kind of chosen them randomly. I've gotten them because they've been cheap, and I'm like, huh, this looks interesting. And that's okay. But now that I'm reading them, I'm like, huh, this was not for me. You know what I mean? The average length of the books that I read was 354 pages, which I feel like is really just average book length in general, so that makes sense. I read 28 authors that were new to me, which is pretty good. I read 11 books in the first quarter of the year that were debut books by authors, either that I had read before or that were debut authors. Does that make sense? I said that kind of stupid. I hauled 11 books, so that means either through subscriptions or pre-orders, I brought in 11 books into my library. And then I read 38 books that were off of my backlog, so these are books that I owned previous to this year. And honestly, I was expecting that number to be higher, which I'm a tiny bit disappointed in myself, especially because I'm trying to do the Read What You Own challenge, and that means 13 books came from my library, which is okay. But, you know, I'm trying to read what I own, you know what I mean? So I need to button up. And I feel like this last month especially, I did listen to quite a few audiobooks, and I've been reading some advanced copies, some early review copies and stuff like that. Which I have to have a balance in order to achieve my goal of reading 100 books for the Read What You Own challenge. I know that, but maybe I need to button it up a little bit more. So now on to the really 4 books that I loved the most in this first quarter of the year, starting with Black River Orchard by Chuck Wendig. This was a sinister book about apples, so it sounds so weird and it's really thick, but oh my god, this book, this could have been like 200 more pages and I would have like, I would have eaten it up. Like, pardon my pun, but it was so good. This is about a man who is kind of down on his luck, living on like his family farm and trying to live out this dream that his father also had of, why does my camera want to, my camera's looking at this and thinking, this is a face? No, camera. And he finds this special breed of apple. It was also his father's dream to have this successful orchard, and he finds this extinct like heritage breed of apple, and he grows it, and it's like the most, oh my god, this beautiful like dark red breed of apple, and it's so delicious, and people just go bananas for it, and it makes them act strange and do strange things, and people are willing to do a lot for this apple. And it is so weird. There are a lot of apple facts in this. It was so good, and like Chuck Wendig, he's just such a great author. So I really expected to like it, and I was right. It was great. It was one of my favorite books. So good. Then also Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This is, oh god, this is a really great book where you kind of know, you can kind of guess what's going to happen, but you're still just really along for the ride. And it's like, even though you can kind of guess, like you're on the edge of your seat just waiting for it to happen. But this is about a woman named Ro who, she has recently made a big move to kind of change her life. She's in a not so great place, but she's trying to switch things around and be okay. And this is like after a breakup, and she's got a new job and she's teaching, and she meets this woman named Ash who is like strange and mysterious, and it would almost be like trad wifey if Ash were like a married straight woman, but Ash is not. And Ash is selling these cupcakes and soaps and things like that at a farmer's market, and Ro finds herself like really attracted to Ash, and Ro has like always seen herself as straight, so this is different and weird for her, but she's like ready to explore it, and you're just there for this budding relationship where these two people probably shouldn't be together. And sometimes it's a little bit frustrating because you're like, what are you guys doing? But it's weird because it's like at least for me, it's like you kind of want it to work out, but also like there are these red flags, and you're sometimes you're like, oh no, like, oh no, but like, oh, I don't know. It's like, it's such a weird experience, but also things are like definitely wrong too. And you just want to get to the bottom of it. And I really, really liked this. It was so good. Then another novel involving a love story gone wrong. This is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. And this is about Dracula and his lovers, but this is from the viewpoint of Dracula's first bride, Constanta. And in the very beginning, you know that his lovers kill Dracula, but you don't really know why, because, you know, I guess in my view of things, Dracula's always been kind of a gentleman, right? Kind of a Casanova maybe. So you're like, oh, why would this happen? But you find that Dracula maybe isn't the most kind person, and this goes through many, many years and different periods of time where you're with Constanta as Dracula, kind of adds to his collection of lovers and stuff like that. And it's really I think the thing that I love most about the story is the writing. The prose is so fucking beautiful. It makes me sick. It's so good. It's like being drenched in like bloody lace. I don't know. It's so beautiful, and I don't know how exactly to describe it, but it's just like the perfectly romantic gothic, but also like there's something like it's like sexy, but also like bloody. I don't know, but it's so good. So good. And then the fourth book I'd like to tell you about is Sister Maiden Monster by Lucy A. Snyder. And this is a apocalyptic story with a cosmic horror touch. And the way this opens up is really interesting. The way this kind of, I don't know, it's like as this apocalyptic event unfolds and develops, we are with different characters at different developing points for this. And it starts out and it's like a pandemic and stuff like that. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It really made for a kind of a different type of storytelling. And I don't know exactly how to tell you about it without telling too much, but it says, as a virus tears across the globe, dark forces pull a group of women together. So we follow like three women throughout the course of this book, and they're all very different and have different kind of roles in this apocalypse. One is gory and strange. There's body horror in this. You had to check content warnings because it gets grody for sure. It gets really grody, but it's really good also. There's a point where I kind of like have to put it down because it's like so gross, but like also so good. But yeah, it was great, and I'd love to pick up more of this author's stuff. So good. All right, well, that's a little bit of my reading so far this year. Check back in 3 months to see what has changed. I'm really hoping I'll be able to stick to this because I'm not always so great with that, with my time restraints and the way that my brain works. I'm just not always great with stick-to-itness, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'd love to know what your favorite books were in the first part of this year. I'd love to know if you've noticed any changes in your reading life, like as a reader. You know, we do evolve, and it is really interesting if you take the time to think about it. It is different. So thank you so much. I will see you later. Goodbye.